Sarah is a student at Norca University. You got that? Norca? Yeah. Are you the only one in the whole audience? You are. That wasn't in the script, but it's cute. As spring break is approaching, Sarah is becoming very concerned about her schoolwork. The amount of studying and homework that she has to do in college is becoming increasingly greater, especially in light of how she compared the workload when she was in high school. And she is becoming increasingly more nervous about the midterm exams. In addition, her resident assistant, Stephen, has noticed that she has not been eating well, has not been coming out of her dorm room, and he suspects that she has been missing her classes as well. Stephen is concerned about some of the comments that Sarah has made in passing that suggests she seems to have a preoccupation with death and dying, not because she took your course, but because this was her mentalization. Stephen even heard her comment once that she may not be back in school after spring break. So, Stephen, we want to know, should you discuss your concerns with Sarah? If you feel you should, we want to know how you're going to approach this subject. Like what questions you're going to ask her.
You definitely would, as an RA, approach Sarah, because the big thing is we have to assess what the situation is, whether she's serious, whether she's joking about what's going on. And as a resident assistant and going through that training, that's one of the things that they'll definitely tell you to do, is to address the student. Now, you can do it tactfully, or you can just kind of be blunt with her about it. I think how I would handle it is I would go up to her and definitely ask her, tell her that we've had some concerns about what people have been saying, what she's been saying, some of her remarks, and just to see if she had meant them seriously or not.
Okay, Stephen. Let me say in passing, like when you go to the airport, there's a sign that says, "Do not joke about guns." People don't joke about death and dying. Whenever you hear that kind of thing, Stephen is right to take it seriously. Is right to take it seriously. Okay, so we want to know something else, Stephen. Are you going to alert the counseling center at Norca University about your concerns? So I want you to tell the audience why you would do it or why you wouldn't do it.
Okay. Well, the first person that will, as an RA, we would talk to is the hall director. That's the person in charge of the building. And then they are going to tell us to take them to the counseling center. We'll talk to Sarah and ask her if she wants me to go with her to the counseling center, or if she would feel comfortable with someone else going, or even the hall director or whatever. And what was the second part of the question?
Why or why not you would have her go to the counseling center, or you would alert at least the counseling center?
We would definitely try to get her to go to the counseling center because, like you said, it's not something to joke about. It's something that we definitely do take seriously and we want to address. If she refuses to go, we will alert the counseling center so that there's other people besides myself that know more than I do that can address the situation.
So Fred wants to know if Sarah says right when she sits down with you, "I want to share something with you, but you can't tell anybody else." Right, Fred? What are you going to do with that?
We have to tell her that we will have to share the information with someone else. We can't lie to her. We have to be upfront with her.
Good response, Stephen. Sarah admits that she's been feeling depressed and can't get motivated, nor can she concentrate. She did not answer the questions directly that Stephen posed about whether or not she is suicidal, but did not reveal that, in fact, she had a plan for doing so. She did say that she has not engaged in any self-injurious behaviors. So our RA gives her the number for the counseling department and decides to check in with her frequently. Dr. Rogers, what might Sarah be feeling?
Well, in some ways, that's the million-dollar question. Sarah talks about being depressed, but we really don't know what that means. We know that she's having some troubles coping at school. She's feeling overwhelmed. Her depression could be related to a lot of different things, and so that's where it becomes very important that she get with somebody who can discuss more in depth what's going on. Often we see for college students feelings of or sense of perfectionistic behavior, and is she judging herself based upon what she thinks she should be doing versus what she is doing? Does she have a sense that the expectations from home, from her parents, are different than what she can, than the way she's performing? She may have a whole host of different kinds of things going on leading to her depression. And so I think here it's very important not to stop with, Sarah, how are you feeling? I'm feeling depressed. It becomes very important to really explore what makes up that depression. And here's where I think it's critical for us to remember that suicidal behavior is very idiosyncratic. What coalesces in one individual to bring them to start thinking about suicidal behavior can be very different than other people. And what's most important is understanding how this person in front of me puts together her life and evaluates that in terms of is it worth going on or not. And that's, again, is where moving her to the counseling center is going to be critical.
Very eloquent, James. The question that he's raising for you clinicians in the audience is, it's very critical that you understand the meaning of her feelings and the meaning of the potential suicidal ideation. It is different for each person, and it really mandates that you sit down and not assume that you know what a person means when they say, I'm depressed. I never know what they are. So if a patient says that to me, I say, what do you mean depressed? How have you been feeling? And we will then go on and ask a couple of questions. Now, Dr. Rogers, of all the things you showed on your slide there, would you like to comment on some risk factors so far that I've presented with respect to Sarah?
Clearly, there are some risk factors that came out right in the scenario, but there are many others that are probably there that we really don't know enough about. Again, now if I can remember what the scenario was about, because it was a little bit ago, she is depressed, and although depression is associated with suicidal behavior, it is not the key piece. A stronger psychological characteristic associated with suicide is a sense of hopelessness. And she may be experiencing some of that. And not only thinking about the idea about feeling hopeless, we would need to know exactly what that was about, because we can all say, I'm feeling hopeless, but hopeless about important, critical things that are important to how she views herself in the world. Some of my existentialism will come out in that. But that's a key piece. Is there a component of hopelessness associated with her depression, and how does that put together for her in terms of looking at what are the potentials for her life unfolding the way she would like it to do, whether that's academic, whether it's relational. We spoke earlier, someone had mentioned the fact that most or many problems that students have, and as adults we all have, are about our relationships with others. And if those relationships aren't there, that can be problematic. When people talk to me about doing, for example, community prevention, suicide prevention kind of activities, what I tend to say is community is prevention. And I think at the key of trying to understand where a student might be in terms of suicidal thoughts and behaviors, we need to look at what are her support systems? Who can she access? Is she accessing those? So I think there are some critical pieces of information that we don't know at this point that will come out when she begins to talk with a professional at the counseling